You guys.
Hey, welcome to mini-series episode 3, Paranormal Activity 3, Screams and Beans. Phaedra, Mary, here for your pleasure.
We are wired and coffee now.
Oh yeah, we've had I've had 2 cups of coffee.
I had 3.
Oh my God. So we're confessed, we switched to water.
We got water.
No matter what our friend Cindy Toke says, there is kind of a limit to how much caffeine you can have at a single given hour.
Yeah.
So we're pretty revved up.
We're pretty.
And I have chocolate covered espresso beans if we feel like it's not enough. Okay, so Paranormal Activity Part 3. It kind of gives us a little more insight into the symbols and things that we saw from the first 2 movies. The movie premiered in 2011. What?
Coffee.
2011. That's a new word.
Fantastic.
2011. And it serves as a prequel, mostly set 18 years prior to the events of the first 2 films. So it goes back into the late 80s when Christy and Katie were little girls.
Kids. Yeah.
The film set a new record for a midnight opening for a horror film and the best opening day for a horror film in the U.S.
Wow.
So, I mean, number 2 set some records, number 3 set some records.
No.
I mean, this is really good for the series, right? We're not bored yet. We want to
we want to keep going.
And
I think that's one, because, usually with movies that have more than one, it's like the same concept.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, well, you kind of mimic the last one. It kind of is like that, but it's the whole new people.
New house, new people, new setting. But, okay, so it broke these records, but it wasn't a fair fight because the other movies released in October were Moneyball, Puss in Boots, Dolphin Tale, and Real Steel. I mean, I know Moneyball wasn't popular and Puss in Boots was popular, but isn't it crazy that Paranormal Activity 3 beat those movies? Like,
that is really
Disney
surprising.
movie?
A Disney. No, that's DreamWorks. Wait,
yeah, you're right. DreamWorks.
Okay. Is Puss in Boots.
You're right. Okay. But anyway, I thought
the Shrek ones where Shrek was really popular too. So
well, it probably wouldn't have done so well if Shrek had been released in the same month. You're right. Okay, so 1988. This is big hair era of the 1980s. I don't know about you, but I owned one of those curly hairs that had like the little spiral metal band around it to like make curls even curlier. So I would spend probably an hour to 2 hours in the bathroom in the morning. Like, I had long hair and I was trying to like curl all my hairs and get them ready for the day. I put my makeup on. I was in high school. So we'll get to what was going on in our life. But so the number 1 hit song in 1988, and this is like big hair era, so no shock. Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah.
Stellar song. Still love it to this day. And yeah, Axl Rose and his little weird snake body. Like, could anything be creepier? Like, he could be a scary movie character. He and Slash. I mean,
that's all I remember from the
God.
videos. This thing, where he does this.
Just sneak, like, wore those tight white pants like Geddy Lee from Rush. He didn't have the mangina. Geddy Lee had the mangina.
Yeah, no.
The most popular movie in 1988, I actually never saw it, was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
See, I saw it, but not at this age.
You saw it later in life. Okay.
Yeah.
The Oscar winner movie of that year is The Last Emperor, which I remember, but I never watched it, I gotta say.
Is that the Jodie Foster one? No, that's not. That's The King and I. The Last Emperor.
Yeah, I
don't think
obviously it's not in our repertoire.
No.
Too smarty of a movie for us.
Yeah.
We weren't investing our time in like smart movies. We were watching like Caddyshack and Vacation. The best Oscar for Best Actress, 1988, Cher for her movie Moonstruck. One of my favorite movies of all time.
That's Nicolas Cage.
Her and Nicolas Cage, Olivia Dukakis. I mean, it's a freaking awesome family movie, rom-com. Cher is so fabulous in
I
it.
love Cher.
I mean, she's just so beautiful to watch. I love her.
I loved her movie, Mask.
My favorite line in that movie, she slaps Nicolas Cage and snap out of it.
Yeah, because he tells her
he loves her and she's engaged with his brother. It's this whole thing. If you haven't watched it, please do me a favor. Go watch
it. It's a good movie.
Watch it while you're making spaghetti and meatballs because it's got a great Italian music background to it. You will just have fun. So Cher was up against Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, and Holly Hunter.
Oh, wow.
I mean, those are huge names, and Cher won.
Wow.
So go Cher.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Oscar for Best Actor in 1988 was Michael Douglas for his movie Wall Street. Remember, greed is good. That was the famous line quoted. He was up against, so what I thought was cool was in there's always somebody like reading off the nominees.
Right.
Well, the person reading off nominees for Best Actor was Marley Martin. And she's deaf. And I just thought it was awesome.
I know who she is.
They put her as the person. So they had a person commentating for her, but she can speak.
She can speak. Yeah.
And she did speak, like, who the nominees were. But I just, for America and being accepting and trying to overcome challenges, I mean, there's way too much of a shortage of a deaf influence in movies and television, and there should be way more because there are lots of deaf people. I have deaf family members, so I mean, hello. I won't talk about how ashamed I am that I never really learned sign language. Well, that's a different story. I'm just saying, I was happy to see that community be supported.
This is them clapping. This is how they clap.
Yeah.
That's all
I want to say thank you, but I always do it wrong.
This or this?
I think this is fuck you.
Oh, okay, like I said, it's either this or this.
That's why I try not to but this is I love you. I love you. Yeah. I love you, family members. Okay, so again, good reads of that movie. I mean, can you believe this? The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris.
Oh, really?
Good book and great movie. Yeah. Super creepy movie. And I love this one, Dead Poets Society by A.H. Kleinbaum.
That was such a good movie,
Also such a good movie. Robin Williams. Miss Robin Williams. Love you, man. Queen of the Damned by Anne Rice. I mean, she was, good writer.
That's a good movie, too.
And The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie.
I don't know that one.
I don't either. I just included it because it said Satanic Verses.
That's hilarious.
It might have nothing to do with Satan. I don't know.
Well, it has to. You can't put that name in there and not have Satan.
It kind of makes me want to read it, but not really. MTV Video of the Year, 1988. Now, MTV was huge in the 80s. It started in the 80s. So by 88, I mean, videos were a thing.
Right.
And this was the era of big hair, so concert videos were kind of a big deal. Bon Jovi kind of started that trend. But the video of the year, which I personally love because I freaking love this band and I'm sad that the lead singer died, NXS Need You Tonight. I mean, you couldn't get any sexier than that guy's voice. Mm. Oh, NXS? You never listened to them? I know that you would know it if you
maybe if I heard it, yeah.
You would know it. Okay. Anyway, great song. Love the band. Okay, so at the time, I read an article in Tiger Beat or one of those things. I'm like, John Taylor of Duran Duran, he was my man, right? I was all about Duran Duran in the 80s. I followed them like they were my family. And every article, I mean, I would buy Tiger Beat and 17 and Vogue and whatever I could get my hands on that talked about Duran Duran. And specifically John Taylor. And at one time, I remember they asked him, what are you listening to? Whatever. And he had mentioned NXS. And I was like, oh, I'm a fan. But so as I started to hear NXS on the radio, I was like, no, I get it. They're really good.
Really
so
good.
Kudos to John Taylor for introducing me to Duran Duran. Yeah. I obsessed over that man. If he knew how obsessed I was with him, he'd probably just...
stalker fan?
Yeah. He'd be like, oh my God. Guns N' Roses. So other popular videos of 1988. Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't surprise me.
Because that's the concert
number one song. Yeah. Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Yeah, I love that song.
Aerosmith, Ragdoll. Bon Jovi, Bad Medicine.
Okay.
U2, Desire. So this was anthem rock, big hair.
Yeah.
I mean, anthem choruses.
Yeah.
I mean, we still sing these songs today. And killer guitar solos.
Some of those are on my Spotify still.
Right? I mean, it's just, these are songs that just won't, I mean, they are good songs. So thank you to those bands who stuck it out through all the drugs and drama, because your music freaking rocks.
It still rocks,
Okay. Our life in 1988. Here's what I have. I have like 2 sentences.
It's even worse for me.
Well, yeah, Mary's blank. See,
but here's the thing: when you talk about the music, I was 8 years old.
You were Disneying it up still.
I was 8 in the 3rd grade.
You were still singing "The Prince Will Come."
I don't know if Disney was out, but yeah, no, I was 8. I don't even know where I lived because we bounced around all over.
Did you have records or cassette tapes?
I would have no clue.
Back at that time, I was
We might have
into
had
cassette tapes.
We
cassette
had
tapes were the thing.
This was lived in Squib. My brother had the thick ones. What are they called?
Oh, the H-track.
H-track. Yeah, those too.
Okay, so everybody, we started out with records, right? Vinyl. Records.
Yeah.
You had the LPs. You had the smaller 45s.
Yeah. You
had a record player, turntable.
Yeah.
Okay, we all get it. If anybody doesn't, just go on Wikipedia. So everybody sort of switched from, well, not everybody, but there was the push in the music industry to recording equipment. Technology got better and better, obviously, over the years. So we switched from records to this new, 8-track. And it was this boxy, it kind of looked like a VHS tape, and you put it in this player and it played the music.
It's like 2
cars even had 8-track.
Only like a couple songs though. It wasn't like a whole...
there are several songs on 8-track, because I remember my stepdad Bob had Sons of the Pioneers, which was like a cowboy music kind of thing, and there were like 8 or 9 songs. And then there was a Christmas one that had like maybe 10 or 12. So it just depends on how they released it.
Yeah, I think Tony had a whole bunch of I don't want to say singles, but they weren't very long, because you'd constantly hear them change them out when it would be done.
So the 8-track thing sort of came and went kind of quickly.
It was quick, yeah.
And they went to a much smaller version of a cassette.
Yeah.
Cassette tapes, and they were the little plastic 2 holes, and the tape wound and played in a player. And, I mean, this was the boombox era, and you were the shit if you had like the boombox with 2 tape decks.
2 tape decks so you could record.
Oh my gosh, that was the thing. And so my friend Tracy had one of those like recorders. It was like maybe this big and this wide, and it had a single tape deck, and it had like play, rewind, stop, blah blah blah. And we would watch these late night soap operas. We'd sneak in the house and like peek through this one little part of the house when her mom was watching like Love Boat and Fantasy Island, and and Dallas, and we'd like sneak and watch enough, and then we'd go back in her room and hit record, and then we'd play some kind of soap opera music in the background,
and then
we'd like do our own dialogue, and we'd have our own and she still has these tapes to this day, and I want to listen to one so bad. We'd be like, Jayla, I just can't take it anymore. Like, we totally pretend we are.
You shot JR.
Exactly. Totally pretend. And I look back I'm like, I wish I had those recordings.
My dad still, to this day, records records onto
oh my God, that's
onto tapes, so he can listen to the tapes in the car.
He is an analog for life.
Yeah, my dad doesn't own a cell phone. He's never owned a CD player.
Well, he might never get brain cancer.
No, he's never done anything like that. So so he really loves to. Him and Abby have a fantastic relationship, and he really loves to play the weird. Like he's got some really weird songs, and he loves to play them when they go camping and stuff. And so it's hilarious. And so Abby's, I think it was her 15th birthday. 15th or 16th, Dad bought her actually a Walmart record player.
Oh, fun!
And he went through all of his records and pulled some out.
Oh, there's some good records.
And he gave Abbey Road from the Beatles.
Wow.
Okay, and so
holy crap.
My dad goes, I think I accidentally gave Abby the wrong
Oh my God! Well, tell her not to get rid of that.
Oh, we give it back to Dad, but because he was thinking because of Abby, but then he's just like,
God.
wait, no, I shouldn't give this one to her.
Original release Beatles
yeah,
album.
yeah.
Hello.
So she has all kinds of CDs, and then they have they made the smaller ones.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a whole bunch of those, and she plays them upstairs and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we went from cassette tape to CD,
CDs,
compact disc. And again, you were the shit if you had the CD player that had the ability to have like multiple CDs in it, so you can shuffle around. I mean, here's the thing. How often do you sit and listen to an entire album? Nobody does that anymore.
Not anymore.
There's something to it though.
If you listen to the whole
thing. You can really get into an artist's point of view and where they're coming from. I mean, okay, take Adele's album 21, for instance. Like, that girl was going through some heartbreak and shit. If you listen to the whole album, like some albums, if you don't listen to the whole album, you'll never get it. Like Pink Floyd, The Wall.
I love Pink Floyd.
And these are like classic,
classic rock.
Like Led Zeppelin 4. What was
that's what we grew up on is the classic rocks. You know, Jethro Tull, Tom Petty,
Tommy. Who did the album Tommy? Oh my God, I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry. I can see the band in my head. I can see the blonde hair and anyway, Tommy, that album is amazing, start to finish. Like, there's just certain albums you just gotta listen. I mean, we don't get it the time of day anymore because we don't have to, because we're kind of a pick a song and one off and move along and shuffle around. But I'm telling you, find your favorite band and just go listen to an album start to finish and tell us what you listened to and what you thought of it and if it changed.
How much is your
music listening experience versus just shuffling around? Because I really find it especially if you light candles and you get all funky with it. It's can be really fun.
I'm a car singer.
Funky with it, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so I was 17 years old. I was a pill. Basically, my parents were like, listen, teenage butthead, we're done with you. Go live with your dad. Well, my dad lived in Richland Center, Wisconsin. Never been there, never heard of it. I moved from Springfield, Oregon to Richland Center, Wisconsin in October of my senior year. I was 17 years old. And so between October and June, that's when I lived with my dad and my stepmom, Peggy. And I could do an entire episode on that part of my life, and I won't. The only thing I'll say is a really nice girl named Jody befriended me, and I really want to thank. And she's still in Facebook. Like I see her posts. We don't really like talk, but we kind of check in on each other on Facebook and see what's going on. So in the off chance, Jody, that you're watching this, I want to thank you for taking me in as a friend, because that really meant a lot, because I was in a very stressful time and many things happened, and some of it I remember and some of it I fully don't remember. I will tell you, I'll tell you one bad thing. So I drank a lot. I was I don't know if I was depressed, but it was like a weird situation.
Rebel, but it's normal at that age.
And I was with this group of guys that were a pseudo band. They were kind of like trying to be the Cure, like the broody hair and like long jackets and like, mom. And so they were playing music in the basement of the apartment building I was living in. So I'd go to the basement and there'd be like vodka and orange juice. I can't drink a screwdriver to this day. I drank so much vodka and orange juice. I went upstairs and I passed out in the living room, and this is in the apartment of my dad and Peggy, to the point that I had vomited and was asleep next to my vomit. Like, this is disgusting. I wake up and they're home. Like, they had been out, but they got back and they see this, and I tried to say I had food poisoning. Did not fly. I was gonna say, so that's there's other experiences, but that's the only one I'll tell you about. Okay, so yeah, I was naughty.
Naughty teenager, but that's normal.
We do push our boundaries, but I pretty much broke them.
You broke them?
An independent spirit, that's what I'll say. Okay, so I'll read you through the movie plot again. I'll try not to make this one as long. I keep saying that, but you know what? They are as long as they need to be because we'll just talk about what we need to talk about. So in March 2005, Katie delivers a box of old videotapes to her pregnant sister, Christy Ray, and her husband, Daniel, which holds footage of young Christy and Katie with their mother, Julie, and her boyfriend, Dennis. A year later, Christy and Daniel's house is ransacked. The tapes go missing. The VHS footage, filmed in 1988, makes up the rest of the film. So, remember in the second movie, Katie asked Christy, "Hey, I've got a box of stuff I want to store in your basement."
Yeah, in the
God
basement.
knows whoever stole these, how they found them, because that's
where did you put them in the basement? The slide, just throw them in there.
So the movie goes into the 1988 era of time. A young Katie and Christy are living with their mother Julie and her boyfriend Dennis. Dennis notices that since Christy's imaginary friend Toby appeared, strange things had begun happening around the house. Dennis and Julie, this is so funny, they flip to this automatically, but Dennis and Julie attempt to film a sex tape, but an earthquake erupts them. So the whole thing was strange things start to happen. Dennis decides, I'm going to set up a camera in the camcorder in the house. And this is back when camcorders were seriously heavy. And so much like in the first movie with Mika setting a camera up in a tripod, that's what Dennis had done.
He was a wedding photographer.
He's a videographer.
Yeah.
So he had equipment. So he sets up this stationary camera in the bedroom, kind of facing out towards the hallway door, so he could see if anything weird is going on. But in the joke of that was the night he set it up, he's like, "Hey, what if we get down?" And so she agrees. She's like, "You better not show this to anybody." Well, they're kind of making out and getting partway naked, and then an earthquake happens, which stops everything.
Normally, because
So what happened is Dennis the next day takes that tape that he started filming and goes into his studio, which is in the garage, and he's watching the tape. And in the earthquake, there's this dust that falls from the ceiling.
I'm sure they're popcorn ceilings.
Yeah, and it's probably asbestos. And it falls, but it
falls on something.
There's a shape that appears in the falling of this dust, and it's nobody sees it.
It falls and stops.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it goes
falls again. And so he sees this on video and is like, what is
this? Yeah.
So after reviewing the footage and noticing the invisible figure revealing by falling dust, Dennis is advised by his friend Randy to place cameras throughout the house, not just in the one room. So Dennis, and then it goes, Dennis and Julie hire a babysitter named Lisa to watch the kids, but she becomes desperate to leave due to several terrifying incidents. The following night, Christy tells Toby they're not friends anymore.
Right.
Mistake.
Yeah.
But the girls are so cute.
They're adorable.
Dennis discovers a strange symbol in the girl's closet and finds the symbol in a book about demonology. And the symbol is a triangle with a circle inside of it. When Christy becomes mysteriously ill, Julie and Dennis take her to the hospital. Katie's left home with Randy. They are attacked by a black figure which violently flings furniture across the room and scratches Randy on his torso. When Julie and Dennis return home, he informs her that the symbol belonged to a witch's coven that brainwashed girls of childbearing age into having sons, then forced them to give up their sons and forget everything afterward.
Right.
But Julie dismisses this claim. The demon harms Katie until Christy agrees to do what it asks.
Right.
She asks her mother to take them to her grandmother Lois's house in Moore Park, California. Julie agrees after encountering a frightening activity herself. Up to this point, she thinks it's all bunk. She then experiences something that's like, okay, fine, let's leave the house. They go to the very wrong place.
Yeah. Grandma's house was not a good house to go to. They should have just
went to Motel 6 and leave the lights on.
Yeah. Grandma's house was not a nice house.
So at 1 a.m. in Moore Park, Julie and Dennis are awoken by a loud disturbance. Julie goes to investigate, but when she fails to return, Dennis goes to look for her. He finds occult imagery on the walls, including the symbol from the girls' room, and discovers several women, including Lois, dressed in black. He flees back to the house with the women in pursuit, finds Julie's limp body levitating above the ground before it is thrown at Dennis. Dennis hides with Christy in a closet before walking into the kitchen, where Dennis, from a window, sees the women circling around a bonfire outside. Katie and Lois in the same room as Julie's body kills Dennis. Lois then beckons to Christy and Katie and tells them to get ready. Before they head upstairs, Christy calls for Toby, and growling sounds are heard upstairs until the camera cuts and film ends. So this is so we go from Christy and Katie being adults and having their own families and boyfriend to now they're the little kids. They're with their mom.
Of it, yeah.
Their mom has boyfriend Dennis, and they're in the house and living together. And so what we see happening is to the girls when they were little. So when they're adults and they're like, oh yeah, remember back
when we
were
this,
little,
or,
now we're seeing
is
what this was.
Yeah.
So this goes through how many nights? We go through 14 nights. So now we've increased 6 times. We have paranormal activities happening between 3 and 4 a.m. So this is the strongest of the activities, which is interesting because
I feel like
they're
with
little
kids too, they have that. With the kids, they're more vulnerable than the adults.
Right.
So and then sometimes kids don't take things seriously either. They blow it off just like adults, but it's like, oh, dude, this is kind of cool,
right?
Let's talk to space.
So, let's see. I'll just do what we did. So night 1, September 10th, we hear the closet door open. Christy wakes up, gets out of bed, walks to the closet. She's standing. So they have this mini closet in their room.
It's like a
little
crawl
space, but they turn it into kind of like a little Heidi playroom.
Yeah, like a cubby hole kind of thing.
Yeah, and so you see little Christy, who's I think she's 5, and she's standing, kind of facing Katie's asleep. She's facing this little closet door, and you can hear her whisper, and she says,
talking.
Yeah, probably. Be quiet so we don't wake Katie up. So she plays with whatever this
entity
is, and at not super late at night, she's running around the house playing with
it. So it's your child's up at 2 a.m. and nobody notices that this child's running around the house.
You don't want that happening. You want your kid to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump to night 7 on September 16th. Dennis wakes to a noise. He takes the camera to investigate. Light above the front door is swinging back and forth. Yeah. They had this kind of round bolt metal light fixture with the glass light inside of it. In the kitchen, he's looking out the window, and then all of a sudden, all the kitchen blinds close at the same time, which causes a jump scare for us. Kind of like the cupboard doors opening.
It's the old-fashioned ones where you pull the one little thing and they clap.
Yeah,
they clap together.
They're kind of like a wooden blind.
Yeah.
So, side note, September 16th, 1988. I will marry Dave on the same date 7 years later.
Wow.
In 1995. So, if you told me at the time I was living with my dad in a 1-bedroom apartment above a donut shop, no joke, going to school smelling like a donut, not cool. If you would have told me 7 years from now, it'll be okay. You'll be married to your person you're supposed to be married to. I would have been like,
whatever.
What?
Yeah, liar.
Isn't that weird though?
That is weird. 7 years. That's not a long time.
Lucky 7. My stepmom. So it was a 1-bedroom apartment. So they had their bed in their room, and there was a couch in the living room, and there was a small bathroom, and that was it. There was a small kitchen. It was a very small apartment. And it was right above a donut shop, so my dad would go get the day olds or whatever, and we'd eat donuts, but after a while I couldn't.
You can't eat them.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had nowhere to sleep at the couch.
But the couch.
And my stepmom would smoke and drink RC Cola till like 3 or 4 in the morning, watching Nick at Night reruns. I was trying to sleep. I was trying to go to school. I had a job at a grocery store as a checker. Like, I was trying to get my life sort of, I wanted to graduate and move out and move away, and I wanted to be able to have money to get back to Oregon. And anyway, it was just a whole mess. She was not very later in life, I learned she had bipolar disorder, which explained a lot about, she had some weird moods, that woman.
Yeah.
And that explained a lot. I guess recently I learned from one of my aunts that her and my dad are in a nursing home now in Wisconsin. So I like I said, I could tell a whole episode on that part of my life. I'm not gonna, but I might write about it someday. I don't know. Okay, so September 17th, 4:03 a.m., Chrissy gets out of bed, climbs onto the dining room table downstairs, runs around the house laughing, and then
playing with Toby.
Yeah, and then 4:04 a.m. she comes back upstairs, and Katie wakes up and is like, Christy, go to bed.
Go to bed.
Later that same day, Julie, the mom, visits Christy in her room, and Christy's painting, a little picture, and her mom asks about Toby.
This was a creepy scene.
And Christy's like, well, why don't you just talk to him yourself? He's standing right next to you.
Right behind you or right next to you.
And I mean, whoa.
Yeah, because then you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Right? And then it cuts to the garage where Dennis's friend Randy finds books that Dennis brought home about demons. And he reads a blurb that says kids are susceptible to spiritual contact. Yeah. Randy says crazy stuff started happening only when Christy started talking about her imaginary friend Toby. And then Christy and Katie go to their bathroom to play Bloody Mary. Katie learned this from Randy. Good job, Randy, telling me because of Bloody Mary. Katie sets up the camera in a bathroom. She says how to play is you say Bloody Mary 3 times into the mirror with the lights off, and then Bloody Mary kills you.
Right.
What a great game. Yeah. Let's all play. At 2:06 p.m., the mom opens the door and scares them. So they had done the Bloody Mary thing, but they hadn't had the lights off very long before Mom's like, what are you doing in here? Yeah. They leave the bathroom, they turn the light off, and we see the camera still sitting in the bathroom with the lights off, and then we hear a thud.
The thud.
So something was there.
Something came out.
But the girls weren't there when that happened. So, okay, so night 10, September 19th, 2 nights later, Mom wakes up, goes in the kitchen. She gets a bite of something in the fridge and turns on the kitchen light. The fan. So at this point, Dennis had mounted a camera in the far end of the dining room, facing the kitchen and part of the living room on an oscillating fan.
Yeah.
So the view changes. Like you get like, oh, I got living room. Oh, I got part of dining room, kitchen. I got it just goes back and forth. Actually really,
it was really
cool
smart.
effect.
Yeah,
I really loved that because you get a point of view, but it's not shaky.
It's not shaky.
So that was really
cool.
And
it's smart.
Yeah. The fan goes to the other side. We see the light above the door swinging. Mm-hmm. The mom in the kitchen is rinsing her dish with her arm, rinsing her dish, and then has her arm in the disposal because she turned on the disposal and it made a rattle noise. So she turns it off, puts her arm down, and we hear a loud zap. And then the light above the door that was swinging had fallen and the glass shattered. Now,
because you're waiting for it to go on.
If you would ask me, I would have thought I was sitting there like, oh my god. Because with her arm disposal, I thought her hand's gonna come off.
Yeah.
It's gonna turn on.
The one gore part.
You would think that the demon would want that to happen, but
or at least make the noise.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so 10:14 p.m. This is where the babysitter is in the kitchen, and earlier when the babysitter got to Christy and Katie, she was in their bedroom. And they were playing some kind of game, and the babysitter had this white sheet. And she was like, oh, you want to be a ghost? And she was playing around with it, and she left the white sheet upstairs. She's in the kitchen studying later that night, and the fan camera is going back and forth. And it pans, and we see the sheet. So we have this little, nod to our little sheet.
The sheet man.
Sheet man. So the sheet is like in the movie, kind of just floating in the air, like there's just sort of stationary. And every time the camera pans back, it's a little closer and a little closer and a little closer. And then finally the camera pans and she hears a noise and the sheet drops. And just goes like boom. So we've got, we've got our little
makeshift.
The sheet ghost.
Which you're thinking it's going to touch her. Because as it got closer, you're like, oh my God, it's going to touch her.
And at first I thought, oh, this is one of the girls.
One of the girls.
Goofy, because it was just about
because how it got closer,
But there was no feet under it.
Yeah.
It was so creepy. It was a really well done scene because it was so creepy. Because, the audience can see the sheet getting closer and closer and closer, and the babysitter had no idea. But again, it's that sixth sense that we have.
You think that something,
Yeah, like I might have turned. Anyway, so the sheet drops and she picks up the sheet that she knew she had previously laid down upstairs. She takes it back to the girls' room. She walks towards the camera and she feels this breath on the side of her head. And she like freaks. She runs back downstairs. She's like sitting by the front door.
Yeah, she's on the couch like, okay, come on.
And she's sitting there, according to the timestamp on the thing, for an hour. So like this happens when she has to sit for. Would you sit for an hour? I'd be like, look, man, I'm just gonna be on the porch. Like, I'll keep the front door open in case I hear anything.
I don't think I would have stayed in the house.
I don't think I could have.
I would have called and like made some kind of fake emergency or something like that.
Yeah,
like I hit myself or
Yeah, she waited a
out.
whole hour. I don't think I could have done it. I couldn't have done that. Night 12, September 21st. Christy is out of bed at 4:13 a.m. Goes downstairs. She's standing on the kitchen counter island, which is kind of random and hard for her to get up.
She got up there.
So you kind of figure somebody left her up there.
Yeah.
She's giggling, and she's like literally just like running around the house playing. 4 a.m.
So I mean, how could you not notice that your child's up?
Dennis hears the noise, like kind of perks up, but then lays back down. At 4:14, a minute later, Christy gets up, and she's up on the stair. So Christy's back upstairs. She climbs up on their stair railing. They have this like
the banister
ledge by the stairway, and she's kind of walking that like you would walk a
like a curb.
Yeah, like a curb or a balance beam.
Yeah,
it kind of had that feel of like a tall balance beam. And she's walking along it, and she gets to the end, and it kind of makes a corner. Like below her is the living room, dining room area. She just jumps off.
She jumps,
and she's like,
I'm sure if you watched this in the theater, I bet you everybody would have gasped.
So right before she jumped, you hear her go, "You promise?"
Yeah.
And then she jumps. So basically,
something
it's like
caught her.
Something said, "Jump, I'll catch you."
Yeah.
Freaking dumbass girl jumps. And then we see her downstairs, and where that light fixture had fell was hanging back up. So they obviously repaired it. Which I thought was interesting. I didn't expect that. I thought once it fell, it would have been gone.
Yeah,
but they rehung it.
They rehung it.
I would have done that.
The glass of the light bulb.
Yeah. Night 13. So that was like a creepy thing with Christy jumping.
Oh yeah.
Night 13, September 22nd, 2:17 a.m. Christy sits up in bed. At 2:22, we see Christy stand at the entryway of her parents' room. She's facing them in the doorway until 3:30. So this is very similar to what Katie did to Mika in the first movie.
Just
sort of standing there. Later that same day, Dennis is in the girls' room. He opens the little closet and sees the circle inside the triangle symbol drawn in crayon on the ceiling and mutters, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
3 p.m. Christy has a fever. So they have Randy come over to babysit while Christy and Dennis Julie and Dennis take Christy to the hospital or doctor.
Because there's fever spiked fast, I think is what they were saying.
And this is after she told Toby she didn't want to talk to him anymore.
Be friends, yeah.
Right?
I can't talk to you anymore.
So Katie and Dennis Katie and Randy are the only ones in the house. Mm-hmm. Katie begs Randy to play Bloody Mary with her in the bathroom. Randy jokes that he doesn't know why Katie wouldn't have played this since one of us is going to be dead by the end of it, guess it's a one-time game. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Why would you do that?
Don't encourage the child.
So they go in the bathroom in the girls' room. They close the door, turn out the lights. They have the camera on, and they chant the phrase. I don't like to say it. I know I've already said it 3 times, but I'm not looking in the mirror.
Did you say it 3 times in a row?
I didn't say it in a row. I didn't say it with all, like, I won't do it.
It's a superstitious.
Dave and I were talking about one time, and he's like, ugh, and we were in the bathroom, he's like, and he did it. And I'm like,
because you're inviting something.
Obviously nothing happened, but I'm like.
It's the fact that it,
oh my
you don't
God.
know it could.
Yeah.
And my name's Mary, so I don't say it in the mirror.
Right? I mean, that must be creepy. So they turn off the light, they chant it, and then Katie gets mad because Brandy turns on the light like maybe 10 seconds later.
Right,
like,
it wasn't the
she's like, you didn't wait long enough, you didn't do it, let's redo
like,
it.
She really wants Bloody Mary to show up.
Yes, and so they do it. He turns off the light, they do it again. And then Brandy hears a scratching sound, and then Katie hears a scratching sound, and then there's a loud scraping sound, and Brandy gets scratched on his body. He's scared shitless, trying to act cool.
Right, yeah.
And then the door starts rattling. Katie's screaming. Brandy's freaking out, yelling, holy fuck. Katie's crying. Randy says, dear God, oh, please be with me. We're fine. You're fine. We're fine. He opens the bathroom door to see into the bedroom, and all of a sudden the small table and chairs that are on the side.
They're like little teeth.
They get tossed into the air towards the stairway. So he's freaking out. He grabs Katie. They run out of the room and go past the furniture, and they're downstairs. At 11:08 a.m. later, Katie is in her bedroom alone, and she hears creaking, and then she's lifted off the ground by her hair. Right. So Toby is definitely... He's wreaking havoc.
He's pissed off.
He's mad at Christy, so he's taking it out on Katie.
Yeah, because he grabs her by the hair and
I think he's trying to take it out on Katie to make Christy reevaluate. Right. Night 14, September 23rd, 1:38 a.m. Katie's sleeping and her covers are moved, and she wakes up. TV in mom's room goes static, causing loud white noise so that
they can't hear.
They can't hear what's upstairs. Dennis is in the garage with the headphones on, doing his videography. Katie tells Christy to wake up. They feel wind in the room. Katie says, Toby is here. Christy says just to ignore it. Toby drags Katie into the small closet, and then her bed moves, and Christy is yelling, stop, Toby, let her go. I'll do it. Just let her go.
Yeah.
So Katie is released as soon as Christy says that. She's crying. She crawls into bed with Christy, says she wants mommy. 1:41 a.m. the TV in mom's room turns off. So it's like Toby had a way of blocking out everybody from like, he basically, by torturing Katie, convinced Christy to agree, and we know what she agrees to.
Right.
Her firstborn son.
Yeah.
So the family at that point leaves to Grandma's house in Moore Park, California. The night of September 23rd is the first night at Grandma's. We see Grandma dressed up Christy, saying, doesn't she make a beautiful bride?
Bride, all in white. Yeah.
So creepy. And the mom's like, oh, you're playing dress up? Like,
right. Didn't catch on at all.
Yeah, that girl has a veil, for God's sake.
1:22
a.m., we hear a car engine, we hear a door shut. Dennis hears noises, goes downstairs. He sees the same symbol of the circle inside a triangle on the wall, where one of the paintings that Christy was focused on earlier when they first arrived. In the other room is a 5-pointed star inside a circular ring, candles lit under it as an altar. Dennis investigates down the outside hallway, sees other women who we know are now the coven.
The cult, or whatever it is, yeah.
Runs back into the main house, yelling for Julie, who he finds at the top of the stairs.
Floating. She's like
elevated on the ground.
Yeah.
She's forcefully pushed towards him, falls down the stairs. She dies.
But we don't know that really.
Well, I assume she's dead.
We assume she dies.
Christy sees Mommy on the floor and is scared. She assumes Mommy's dead. Grandma appears to be controlling Toby, who kills Dennis in the movie.
Yeah, Cody killed,
So, let's see.
Because when the girls are older, they actually don't talk about where they live. They know the house burnt down. Yes. But they don't know, but we don't know if it's like was it their house and mom was in the house and died, because it never talks about the mom or grandma after that.
And I'm not sure, because Katie, later when Katie's an adult, she's in Carlsbad or Carlsbad, California. I think when they were, or San Diego.
I can't remember.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where their childhood home was located. I just know they mentioned grandma's in Moore Park. So the funny anecdote of this movie was near the beginning. Julie, the mom, is getting stoned with Dennis after the girls have gone to bed, and she's like, "We can't be too loud."
Yeah.
And we see a box of Kellogg's cornflakes on the bed, and I'm like, "That's your stoner
That's
food?
your stoner food?
How boring."
No.
I mean, when I was like, we would eat chips and cookies and ice cream,
right?
French,
like chocolatey stuff,
yeah,
or,
like some
dense
salty
stuff,
sweet,
yeah.
like
not cornflakes.
Cornflakes. I guess you get what you get, but that was funny.
They have kids in the house, so they should have better treats than that.
Yeah.
You know.
And this movie made me wonder, because you've got this little girl completely but completely sucked in by Toby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would this demon have to look like for a little girl to feel safe around it, to want to play?
Like she actually sees something,
right?
We don't see anything besides the black blurbs and and the stuff. But yeah, but you're right. What gives off this,
Like, if you were a demon, wouldn't you want to look like Teddy Ruxpin or something? Like something totally...
unicorn? Or,
inviting and fart rainbows?
Because it's obviously not a voice. I can't imagine me as a child listening to this voice talk to me and not freak out. Like, oh God, where'd that come from?
Unless it's like she's hearing something in her head, like they're telecommunicating or something. I don't know.
No, because she looks at it.
Yeah.
She looks at it. So
but
she
knows
something.
It's obviously able to communicate with her. She's answering back.
But she answers back.
So in the movie later, she describes Toby as being tall and old like grandma. But if she tells, she won't be safe. She'll be in big trouble.
Right.
So he's threatening her, but she's accepting of it.
Right.
And so maybe he looks kind of like an old person. I don't know. It's just weird. It's very vague the way she describes it. Again, the camera being mounted on the fan was really cool.
Yeah, that was really
cool. The
cool.
light swinging again is now in all 3 movies so far.
Yeah.
Scariest moments for me was Randy and Katie playing Bloody Mary in the bathroom. And we talked about, did we ever do? I never did that.
I never did it. No.
Now,
never.
I will tell you, when I was in the sorority in college at OSU, I was, oh my God, Alpha Omicron Pi, AO Pi. And we were in the house one night, a group of us girls. It was kind of like having a sleepover, like when you're in high school. But, we're in college. It's a weekend night. We're like kind of drinking, hanging out. And we, I never played this as a kid, but I had kind of heard of it, like light as a feather.
Stiff as a board, where you put the fingers.
And so we did this. So we had like 3 people on each side of a person. So a person's like on the
cardboard.
We were in the hallway, so it was like straight cardboard, or not cardboard, but carpeting. Nothing under the body, nothing.
Right.
Just people on each side. 3 people on each side, 1 person in the middle, and the person is like picturing themselves as like
light as a feather,
2x4.
Yeah.
Like. Just I'm stiff as a board, light as a feather. The 3 people. So I was one of the 3 people on the right side of the body, and we had our hands open like this, just lightly under.
Right, because you're not supposed to be touching.
You just like, we all started chanting at the same time. It's very cult like, right? Stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff. And you chant this and you chant this. I swear to God, I mean,
it felt like
her body rose, and we were just like barely 2 fingers, and this body was in the air.
Wow!
Like everybody was like barely with 2 fingers. It creeped me the hell out. I'm like, okay. After that was done, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to my room. Bye. I was so
my ghostly scary. The house that my dad lives in now was my great grandma's house. And great grandpa had died in the house. I don't have any memories of Grandpa Howard. I don't know who he is. Mm-hmm. I couldn't pick him out if I saw him. My bedroom was the catch-all closet room until I moved in. So there was just shit everywhere in there. And so when I moved in, some of the stuff was still in there. You know, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. So my stepmom used to tell us that she would come home and cupboard doors and drawers would open.
Oh.
Like she would, like out of the corner of her eye would see that it opened. And so we always teased that the house was haunted.
You had paranormal activity.
Yeah. So I as a kid never saw the cupboards open or the drawers open or anything like that.
Thank goodness.
But in my room, we had this giant wicker chair, like the old, like 70s. It's the high back with the teeny tiny cushion that you sit in. But when you sit in it, it's loud. It makes that loud wicker. Yeah. You can't sit in it quietly at all. So I had stuffed animals in it because I didn't want to sit in it.
Even with a cushion on it when you sat.
Yeah, even with a cushion. It had those, the old-fashioned cushions that you put on the chairs and you tie it onto the chairs. So I had one of those in there. And so there's 4 of us kids and we were in the living room and we were hanging out and I didn't want to sleep in the living room because my sister was being an asshole, wouldn't give me the couch. I didn't want to sleep on the floor. I'm older, so I should have got the couch. And so I go to bed. And so there's the wicker thing. So I'm in bed and I hear something get into the wicker chair. And so we have a cat named Fiona. We used to call her Finona because we couldn't say Fiona. So I'm like, oh shit, the cat got in here. So eventually she'll scream at you to let her out. So I get up and so I hear it sit and I'm like, oh, in my head, I'm like, oh fuck Fiona. And then it gets out. I was like, okay, so she jumped up in it, jumped down on it.
But you didn't hear a little cootie.
But I didn't hear a cat. Wow. So I hear something sit in the chair and get out of the chair.
Whoa.
So I'm like, okay, so I get up and open my door to let the cat out because, there's no fucking cat.
Was that your grandpa's room ever?
It was Grandma and Grandpa's room at a time. Oh. I don't know if it's the room that he died in because I know he died in the house. But I was like, okay, well, it looks like I'm sleeping on the floor in the living room now. I wouldn't go in my room. And then the next day, I made my dad get rid of the wicker chair.
And what happened after that?
It went to his room.
No, I mean...
Nothing. I never, ever experienced anything again.
That's
and I don't know if any of my siblings, because my stepsister and my little brother lived there too, and they never said anything. So it's like I'm the only one that actually felt... I didn't feel anything, but I just heard this thing.
It's almost like the Conjuring movie, the second one, where the old man is connected to the chair that he died in the house.
Yeah, I don't know where the wicker chair came from, but it was in the room when I moved in. And so I was just like, yeah, keep it. I'll just throw my stuffed animals in it,
This is why I'll never move into an old house.
Yeah.
I'll never have
and the house is 1940s, 30s, 40s.
Okay, so it's not ancient.
So it's not ancient.
It's old by our standards today, I guess.
Yeah, oh yeah. Because Dad had to dig out there was no foundation, no concrete foundation, so it was on the ground.
Oh, geez.
And so OSHA was not acquired here. He took car jacks and would jack up a portion of the house.
They do
and then put bricks, but he would dig it out and then put these bricks. So we found old newspapers, old bottles.
Yeah, wow.
It is when your dad's not a carpenter or anything.
Did he check with a level?
No.
He could have had a crooked.
Dad just kind of did things, and you're like, well, we'll hope that it goes okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, to get it off that's important. That's interesting.
Because like when you had it up on the jack and we weren't allowed to be on that side of the house, we weren't allowed to run around. But that's the only thing that I ever remember as a paranormal thing was that wicker chair. I'm telling you, it was gone the next day. I was like, nope. It scared me because I was like, because it's such a distinct noise. Yeah. You can't it's not like it's a car horn that you heard or anything like that. It was such a distinct noise to sit in that chair.
That you knew something.
And then get out. Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't evil, it's just scary.
It's just scary.
And as a kid, oof.
Yeah. No, I slept on the floor. I didn't tell anybody. It was years later when we were talking about the house. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that night? And I told them about it. They're like, nah, that never happened. I'm like, oh yeah.
People remember the scary things that happened in the house.
Oh yeah, that was a scary house. I mean, the house is hilarious now. Dad's fixed things. So he did his bedroom floor, and he just put, I don't know what kind of board it is, but he shellacked it with the stuff, and he's like, I got myself a whole new basketball court.
Oh my god.
It was so shiny. You're just like, okay, well, yeah, this is not my bedroom. my bedroom was off the kitchen, so if you were in the kitchen and I was in my room, I could hear.
Yeah.
I can hear everything. He used to wake me up at like 2 a.m. I don't know clue why my parent thought, oh, let's wake up a child.
Oh
He'd be making banana bread. And he'd be like,
man, was he stoned?
Probably. Yeah, my dad was a stoner.
Now that's a good stoner snack, banana bread.
That's what he would bake. And so my dad was a baker. And so he'd be like, I got some fresh banana bread. You want to come have a piece?
At like 3 in the morning?
Like 2, 3 in the morning. So I'd go eat my piece of banana bread.
Witching hour.
And then go back to bed.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Yeah, he was stone baking at 3 a.m.
I'm assuming so. Yeah. Dad used to.
There are perpetual stoners out there. No judgment.
No, my dad is one. He's a hippie.
And to the point that some people they have to have it every day, or it's not going to be okay.
Right.
Like, that's just part of their life. Okay, so that basically wraps up Paranormal Activity 3. I will go in a little bit. So there is some the symbols that we talk about in Paranormal Activity 3. They do have actual meaning. So again, I did some nerd factoid. So the symbol, the circle and the triangle, it's a little more oval than this that we see it drawn in the ceiling, but that's the basic symbol. And then the other symbol that Dennis saw in the grandma's house above the altar with the candles was this 5-point star with like this frame around it. So it's a 5-point star inside of a circular frame. And I just assumed that was a pentagram.
Right.
And it's called a pentacle.
Oh.
So the 5-pointed star inside a circle is a pentacle. The pentagram is when you only see the 5-pointed star alone by itself.
Okay.
I didn't know this. The pentacle is said to be used in nature-based religions like tarot, Wicca, etc. And the 5 points are said to represent the 5 elements: the air, the water, the fire, earth, and the spirit. Pentacles may be sewn on the chest of one's garment, may be flat objects that hang from one's neck, or placed flat upon the ground or an altar. So one of the photos, or one of the scenes that we see of the coven much later, I think it's in the marked ones, at the end of number 4, we see this like group of women, just a brief glimpse of this group of women when, we'll talk about that later, but they're all wearing a necklace with this, I can't tell what symbol it is, if it's the circle and triangle or if it's the pentagram, but they're wearing something. They're all wearing something. So they're a cult, a coven, there's some crazy shit going on. The word that we keep seeing that's discovered in Paranormal Activity number 2 on the inside of the basement door is M-E-U-S, meos. It also appears again in Paranormal Activity number 3. It's behind a painting that Christy is standing next to in her grandma's dining room. Like, she's looking at this painting, but the assumption is she's looking through the painting and she sees, or I think that's this triangle and circle, but somewhere there's the word muse.
Yeah, it's there.
Number 4 as well, because when Wyatt and Robbie are playing, it appears in Robbie's room or Wyatt's room, and in Latin it means mine. So I think the idea there is like it's the demon telling the family that
this is mine.
Something is mine. So Hunter was his in part 2.
Right.
And the circle with the triangle, I might not be pronouncing this right. It's called a thaumaturgic triangle. The witches' coven utilized this sign to call forth and exert power over a demonic entity. So in part 2, Brad thinks that, they're in search of wealth and power.
Right.
I think it has to do with more of their ability to control Toby.
Right.
Or have power with Toby. The thaumaturgic triangle has deep roots in esoteric symbolism. Its 3 points signify the arcane, the divine, the magical. invokes energy, conjures magic, provides protection are just a few of the many uses for this potent emblem. Mysterious symbol has many meanings, associations, including Wiccan initiation ceremonies. Alcoholics Anonymous actually adopted the symbol and put the words unity, service, and recovery around all three sides of the triangle with no circle inside. Oh, this is funny. I just realized instead I put the symbol of a circle with a triangle. It's supposed to be a triangle with a circle. You get my meaning.
So that was at 4 a.m.
Anyway, yeah. So there is some interesting, you can kind of deep dive, and I didn't want too much weirdness in my Google search. I don't want crazy shit appearing later as I go on the internet. You never know.
Since you looked at this,
yeah, exactly. So I think that kind of wraps up Paranormal Activity 3, and I don't know. I hope these are interesting. I hope they're going well.
I had fun talking about them.
So let us know your comments, your thoughts. If you're bored out of your mind, if you think we should talk about other stuff, whatever. We just love these scary movies, and we want to give them their due in
share
the genre of the whole thing because they really are remarkable.
It's not our fault that there's so many of them to talk about.
True. They kind of went off. They just took this and went running.
They
so
whipped. Yeah.
All right. So we will catch you next time on Screens and Beans miniseries Paranormal Activity number 4. See you then. Oh wait, I'm fussing with my little remote.